As for Democratic Congressman John Conyers, he is stepping down as ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee while he's being investigated by the Ethics Committee. Conyers is facing allegations of sexually harassing a former female staff members and settling a claim with one of them. The congressman released a statement yesterday saying in part, quote, "I deny these allegations. I am grateful to my colleagues who have called for due process before weighing judgment." And here's what Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi had to say about her longtime colleague in an interview yesterday.
We are strengthened by due process. Just because someone is accused, and was it one accusation? Is it two? I think there has to be. John Conyers is an icon in our country. He has done a great deal to protect women.
Do you believe John Conyers is accused?
I don't know who they are. Do you? They have not really come forward. And that gets
so you don't know if you believe the accusations?
That's for the Ethics Committee to review. But I believe he understands what is at stake here, and he will do the right thing.
All right, for more on this, let's bring in CBS News Chief Congressional Correspondent Nancy Cordes. Thanks so much for joining us, Nancy. So Nancy Pelosi later sort of walked back those comments a little bit, saying in a statement, no matter how great an individual's legacy, it is not a license for harassment. I commend the brave women coming forward. What has the reaction been like elsewhere in the Democratic Party to these allegations?
Well, I think there is some concern that Leader Pelosi may have ceded some of the moral high ground by appearing to equivocate on the accusations against her longtime colleague, John Conyers. Democrats have asserted that, and Republicans as well, have said there's really a zero tolerance policy when it comes to sexual harassment, and there has been this movement to believe the women. You even heard the Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, say very notably, "I believe the women," when a number of women came forward to make accusations against Senate candidate Roy Moore. So when Pelosi went on television and said, "Well, I don't even know who they are. Do you know who they are? I'll leave that up to the Ethics Committee," that frankly surprised some of her own colleagues. And clearly, she's trying to walk a fine line here. John Conyers is a civil rights icon. He's someone that Democrats and Republicans alike would say has spent his career fighting for the downtrodden and for minorities and women and people who don't have a voice. And so Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the Democratic Party in the House, is clearly reluctant to say something that is going to trash what she sees as a very important legacy. And yet, she clearly felt the need to put out a statement later in the day, making it more clear that she does believe that the allegations are serious. And it just kind of shows, Anne-Marie, the difficult road that leaders and lawmakers are having to walk in this new era. And it is not going to be the last time that they're faced with this kind of situation, because new accusations against new members seem to surface every week.
Yeah, indeed. And increasingly there are calls for Congress to take some concrete measures to change the way sexual harassment is dealt with on Capitol Hill. I know that Nancy Pelosi has called for an end to the practice of using taxpayer money to secretly settle claims. How intense is the pressure, and how genuine is the desire for Congress to enact some sort of concrete change here?
I think the pressure is pretty great, and I think that there is a new realization that we are now in an era where you can't really sweep these things under the rug the way that you could before. People will speak out. People will find out if, as in the case of Conyers' office, you essentially, in order to downplay the fact that a former staffer was getting a $27,000 settlement over claims that she was repeatedly subjected to sexual advances by Congressman Conyers, they basically kept her on the staff, kept paying her, but told her not to come to work. And that is not really how the system is supposed to work. So there is genuine pressure to change the system and to to make sure that it isn't the taxpayers who are paying off women when they make allegations, and the women shouldn't have to feel like they have to sort of remain in the shadows and keep quiet if they want some kind of reparation for what happened to them.
Right. So meanwhile, though, work grinds on. Congress is back at work this week. A very small amount of time to get a lot of things done. We know that the president will be meeting this afternoon with a group of Republican senators. What will you be watching for?
Well, December is always dicey because Congress leaves a lot to the end of the year, and then it's kind of this last-minute scramble, and everyone says, oh my goodness, maybe we'll have to work through Christmas, and then somehow they figure it out, and they manage to get out of town most of the time. But this particular December really is pretty daunting, Anne Marie. Among the things that Congress has on its plate is renewing the children's health insurance program. They allowed it to lapse last month. That's already causing some problems for states. Those problems are going to get bigger if they don't renew it. Government funding set to run out at the end of next week. So they need to vote to fund the government. But Republicans can't really count on Democratic support because Democrats are saying we may not vote for your government funding plan if you don't also do something about the so-called dreamers, young people who were brought to this country illegally as children. You'll recall that the administration revoked their legal status a couple of months ago, left it up to Congress. Congress still hasn't done anything, and Democrats are trying to force Republicans' hands. And then on top of all of that, Republicans are committed to passing a massive and somewhat controversial tax cut bill by Christmas holidays. President Trump says he wants to sign it by then, and there's an inordinate amount of work to be done on that front as well, and a lot of potential pitfalls. So you can see why lawmakers are coming back to Capitol Hill, frankly, a little bit nervous about when they're going to be able to leave here again, because there are so many must-do items on their plate.
Yeah, definitely. Nancy Cordes on Capitol Hill for us. Thank you so much, Nancy.
You're welcome.